Hello everyone and welcome back to the Old Emo Dave YouTube channel. My name is Scott. I'm joined by Dave himself. We decided to switch up a little bit because modern's my forte. Dave?
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome back. And yeah, Scott, this is your bread and butter. I am mere a passenger in the journey through the modern RCQ season and the games that we play. But I am here today on the game, so I'm more of a insider rather than a commentator, I guess. Yeah, and we're already kicking off. Mardu Bombardment versus Dimir Frogtide.
Yeah, so Mardu Bombardment is what we've gone for. There's the Boros Energy shell there, but cards like Warren Soultrader, Chthonian Nightmare, and Goblin Bombardment to have a little bit of a sacrifice package going on to go well with the 2-for-1s from MH3, Ocelot Pride, Trigger Ajani, a bit easier, that sort of thing. Jack on Dimir Murktide, that is Murktide efficient spells headlined by Psychic Frog from MH3. A very, very powerful 2-drop that can grow very, very quickly and can actually be quite a big problem for the standard Boros Energy decks to answer, because it can just grow out of the size of Galvanic Discharge and Flage so quickly.
100%. And not specifically tilled up for this matchup, like into Jack or anything, but Boros Energy is bad into these decks, and the one thing Mardu lets you do with the Maisonette Apprentice and the Goblin Bombardment is have a bit of a different line to victory, and you know that is potentially the way through in these types of games instead. But mana base is a little bit tricky, and down to a point that, like, even in this deck, I'm only running one each of the Mardu fetches, the Mardu shocks, because you want to get it right, but you also don't want to get flooded by it either, and you also want to be prepared for some potential blood mooning that is happening within the meta right now. But Stitcher Supplier also being the cute little inclusion, because these Mardu Bombardment lists now run the Warren Soultrader and the Grey Caller package, so that you can have some kind of infinite combo going on where you can sack your Grey Caller, bring it back because the zombie's a wizard, and do really cute things.
Yeah, so Stitcher Supplier acting like grease. It enables the Chthonian Nightmare package as well. So we've seen the typical Boros Energy start out of you, where you've played 4 1-drops. Jack's had a bit of a slower start, starting with just a Fatal Push on the first Guide of Souls, but you following it up with Guide of Souls, Stitcher Supplier, Ocelot Pride, generating a lot of NG, gaining some life back that you've lost to your mana base. So that's sort of where you can get the advantage here. Boros and Mardu can gain quite a lot of life out of the Guide of Souls, so it can sort of mitigate the impact. So Spell Snare on the Chthonian Nightmare there. What Jack wants to be doing, this Dimir Murktide deck is set up to 1-for-1 predominantly.
Yeah, and that's the thing where they'll struggle, because very often I'll go 1 for 3 by just gaining a single life and making a couple of kitties every turn. Other nice things about this deck in that respect, obviously with the Maisonette Apprentice making a servo, also can then sometimes double up those tokens for you, and also the treasures. You know, you make those treasures, you get multiple treasures if you have the City's Blessing. But Murktide is always scary in these situations.
Yeah, it's one of 2 reasons why standard Boros Energy and these Mardu lists can struggle with Blue-Black Murktide. Not just the Psychic Frog outgrowing things like Galvanic Discharge and Flage, but Murktide also outsizing that almost all of the time as well. Static Prison is really the only answer for it, or at least the only clean answer for it, and even then you still need to be generating NG to keep up with that. So double Ocelot Pride down, so we're getting a lot of bodies on the board. Gravecrawler as well, so you're really hoping for a Goblin Bombardment off the top here.
Yeah, but I'm comfortable as well. My life total's great. I'm making lots of game pieces, and not even necessarily needing to attack in. I keeping that Stitcher Supplier alive, so I do have the zombie for recursion. This is the engine. It's the one that I think, when that inevitable Nadu ban comes, people are starting to ask, are we going to see anything hit here? Are we going to see this kitty hit? Are we going to see the Guide of Souls hit? It's going to be an interesting one, because there's still decisions to be made before that August the 26th date comes in.
Nah, yeah, I think when Nadu inevitably leaves the format, people are going to have anything between 3 and 7 sideboard slots and very often mainboard slots freed up. And in my experience from playtesting the format, Boros Energy and these Mardu Energy lists can struggle with a single Toxic Deluge if it's timed at the right time.
Yeah.
From Jack's from Jack's point of view here, a Toxic Deluge on 2, your entire board is gone, and he can then swing in with the Murktide Regent. So in this situation, you're kind of walling each other. You can't really swing in that effectively because the Murktide's just going to start eating things, and then, as you said before, with the 1-for-1 game that Jack is trying to play, giving him access to get multiple cards of value can lead you into problematic situations. From your side of things, you're in no rush.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sitting back waiting for that top deck, so I can do some kind of combo or get in that position. You are right. The sideboard slot, let's just be fair, Harsh Mentors, Counter Spells are in a lot of people's sideboards now purely to be able to cope with Nadu. I know in this particular deck, I was running 4 Harsh Mentors because of my awareness of so much Nadu. And that will have to change. And again, and even just Graveyard Hate, right? Like Graveyard Hate is pretty non-existent or very, very low. Like the black decks have got Boggart Trawlers in there as grief pitch things mainly, but that's about it. That's about all the Exile the Graveyard stuff that we see. It will change, and it's only a few days away as Bowmasters does hit an Ocelot Pride.
Yeah, it deals with one of the Ocelot Prides, slows down your development, is getting Jack closer to the sort of position where he can start attacking with this Murktide Regent.
Yeah, and just to talk about Mardu lists in general and why I'm on Bombardment here, Bowmasters is in the other lists, and I do quite like the other list that exists where you're a little bit more thoughts easy. You play the Bowmasters and just maybe like one Chthonian Nightmare, but this mainly was me trying out the cards that I like and the type of decks that I like to play. Whilst the Bombardment is shown, Jack knew the writing was on the wall. We're going to go to game 2.
Yeah, that's sort of Jack's deck having quite a slow start, not being ready for the amount of 1-drops that you were playing, you getting out of the gates very quickly, Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, every valuable 1-drop. That is one benefit of playing this Mardu list that you're on, is to go with the Bombardment. You end up playing a lot of 1-drops as well, so you can dump your hand very, very quickly, and then having Gravecrawler to essentially always be able to attack because you can very often just recast it after combat. It does allow you to make use of just playing a bit more of a trim deck, not dealing with these expensive spells like Murktide Regent, that sort of thing that Jack's having to deal with.
No, absolutely. And I did forget Jagantha in game 1, just for the stream. So the Jagantha comes on out. This is one of those decks again where you just have a slot, so you play it. And
no, you've obviously sided out your one-off White Orchid Phantom, allowing
I'm found out Metagon. But when you are making these deck changes in the next coming weeks, though, you're going to need a place to put your Nadus and your banned cards. So if you do not have great protection, do make sure you pick up some bulk boxes. Bulkbox.co.uk. You can go use the code ALLDEMO10, and that's the best storage that you can possibly get. That will get you 10% off at checkout. They now do single boxes as well now, Scott. For if you have people who didn't actually want to pick up 3 in one go, you can get the limited edition single boxes. But with that all in mind, we're going to game 2, and Jack just wants to get out of the gates very, very early, keeping control.
Yeah, so Preordain on turn 1, setting up the draw. I can see a Psychic Frog in hand as a very nice turn 2. That looked like second Frog, second Preordain. So Jack bottoming both, just trying to get a little bit more grease. So you are almost definitely playing a 1-drop, as this deck is wont to do. So it doesn't really matter that much what that 1-drop is. Once you've got it down, that Psychic Frog's coming down on the other side, and unless you've got a Static Prison available, it's going to be pretty tough to deal with.
Yeah, and not playing static prisons in this deck. I actually was opting for the fatal pushes in this particular build. Give me a little bit more agency to potentially think about like getting Children's out of the way. And I did actually have one on board here. And I did think for a while about, do I play the fatal push and get rid of the frog right now? My thoughts was, how big do I need to go to get rid of the frog, or is Jack just gonna have some kind of a threat to keep it away? I was better off, because I had it in hand, look at the Amp Raptor, have the shot of getting one of my 3-drops in play, and potentially just regaining control by pure board presence rather than actually getting rid of the frog. And the Ocelot Pride being a really reasonable hit in this situation.
Yeah, so the Amped Raptor's obviously the higher value play. As you said, you have the chance to hit one of your 3-drops. You are getting multiple cards out of the Amped Raptor. It's the kind of thing that Jack would like to counterspell in this matchup, because it's worth more than one piece of cardboard, same as the Ocelot Pride, really. Yeah. Fatal pushing either half of these cards isn't really where Jack wants to be. He wants to be using things like Bowmasters on declaration of attacks, snipe the Ocelot Pride down, trade off the Orc Army for the 1/1, that sort of thing, trying to get value out of each one of his cards.
Yeah, exactly. And, setting up right here to sort of have some kind of counter play to any of my big threats. Bringing in the Blackstreet, so straight away looking to find something into the graveyard. At this point, I believe I was already thinking I could set up combos from here. I'm going to be gaining life. If I just find creatures, I'll be gaining life, and that was the way to go. City's Blessing really, really wasn't far away, and pumping up my Amp Raptor would threaten the frog, make Jack do some stuff with what's in hand. And Bowmasters of Raptor away.
Yeah, it feels like a couple of cards of value gain there, as I was just talking about earlier, where that Bowmasters is getting a good couple of cards worth of value, and you just taking the opportunity then to fatal push away the Psychic Frog.
Yeah, a feeling at that point that if I'm gonna lose a piece, it's important that Jack doesn't stay up a piece as well. Whilst at a point where it would have had to have been a force, like a couple of cards pitched away to stop me, which again would have still been in my favor. But Jack is definitely not out of this game like he was the first one, and easy enough from here could snowball into many threats.
Yeah, as opposed to the first game where he had a bit of a slower start. He wasn't casting that many spells. He didn't have a Psychic Frog on too, that sort of thing. It's been a much more even game, and a game that's much more suited to what Dimir Murktide wants to be doing. And it's the kind of place where this deck shines, where there's 1-for-1 trading going on. Gravecrawler, pretty useful when you have a zombie on board, but currently no zombie on board. So that is, if you remove it, it's staying dead at least until we see a Warren Soultrader or a Stitcher's Supplier.
Yeah, and concerned to this point that Jack now actually knows what I'm doing. Right? This deck specifically right now has a little bit of a surprise element. So you might see in game 1 people pitch their Boggart Trawlers to a Soul Spike, and then suddenly you're doing your combo-y thing, and they're like, oh damn, yeah, I needed those Boggarts. So Jack's there right now, realizing a little bit more what he's playing around, and using the frog to full effect, because you get in for damage, and it means you also draw a card. And here comes the big butted dragon. Always a good one to hit on the board.
Yeah, Jack turning around and saying, well, with the board position the way it is, he is running out of time. If he lets you sit there and draw 3 to 5 cards over the next couple of turns, then there is every chance you just hit Warren Soultrader plus Goblin Bombardment, that sort of thing, and start setting up these loop states where you can get an extreme amount of value out of your cards. So Murktide Regent slammed the Psychic Frog Grown by pitching the Spell Snare, even with Spell Snare being quite good against your deck, just really trying to maximize the clock and looking to get you dead over the sort of next 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, offered the trade on the Gravecrawler here because just purely and simply it means I'd gain life on its return. Jack, not that silly though, and it through. Just thinking of your thoughts on this one, Scott. And I sort of like from a deck list, and I'll make sure the deck list is actually in the description. I don't play Village Rites, and I think this is like looking in reflection of like getting the card draw to stay in these types of games. I feel it's a reasonable engine considering all of the good sack outlets to be able to be sacking things to and drawing cards. In this particular deck, any thoughts on that one?
It's an early list of the deck, right? And Modern seen a little bit as a lame duck format recently, with Nadu looming over it. Creativity's being stifled a little bit because sometimes if you're not doing much, you do just die on turn 4 sometimes. And I think once we see Nadu banned, once we see where the format is landing, and you can see what you're mostly playing against, as opposed to at this point just theory, where people are saying, well, we think red green Eldrazi might be good, we think Goryo's might be good, Boros Energy is obviously extremely popular, there's these Mardu energy lists popping up. No one can sit and say how the format is going to look, so I think we just need to wait and see, let people iterate, let people do their thing, brew up some decks, see where we land.
This is one of the few times where we can say, actually, financial advice, wait and see.
Yeah. If you want some advice from someone who's made some very poor financial decisions over the years while playing Modern for a long time, just wait and see if you've got a playable deck, if you can borrow cards off friends to play decks. Do that, at least for the next couple of weeks. If you can borrow a deck for the first RCQ slot in your area, preferably borrow someone's Nadu deck, learn how the combo works, spike the first one, and then you don't need to worry about the rest of the format.
Absolutely, and if you're looking to spike one, you can get the tickets for hours at Firestone Games in the description. If you commented on this video, I'm going to win your RCQ, there'll be 5 bonus packs if you actually win our RCQ. So at this point though, I wasn't winning this game as we scoop up the game 3.
Yeah, that was between Psychic Frog and Murktide Regent. That was just a bit too much in the air. The only flyer that you can really represent is Guide of Souls with the flying counter on it, but that's only after you've attacked with it with 3 energy. Did just notice as well, you've swept up your Gigantha from the sideboard there.
I do. I'm sure by memory I spot this. Do I not spot it? Oh, if I do, never mind.
We can tell you haven't played with companions very much in all your Pioneer play.
I have not, but also exactly the fact I'd have literally swept up my Gigantha into my deck. Like technically legal, I guess. But
yeah, you just sided it in. You're just playing 61 cards now.
But yep, was my first time on this deck, completely in paper. Ran it through on some Magic Online leagues. Thank you as well there to Magic Online for our ongoing partnership. And yeah, I've definitely made. I've already seen some mistriggers on this mistake, but felt good about taking it into the weekend and playing it at the Axion events, which we'll be covering in a later video.
Yeah, if memory serves, you did relatively well for yourself there, but we won't give too much away unless
no spoilers.
Unless people have been looking at Twitter with your beautiful face plastered all over your account.
But the thing you have to do with this deck is you have to spy all turn 1 into turn 2 into turn 3. With a bunch of 1-drops and a bunch of 2-drops in your deck that do proactive things. I think it's an interesting thing. I listened to Young Dingo talking about these lists and talking about actually like Ocelot Pride's the best 1-drop in the deck, but it's the worst 1-drop on 1 because you really want Guide of Souls, or you actually just, if those who play Ragavan, you just want to put Ragavan down and say like remove this, otherwise I take the lead.
Yeah, that's the thing with this deck, right? Is it plays a lot of 1s and 2s, but it feels like all of them are must kills. Where if you go Guide of Souls on 1, that's the dream as well. Guide of Souls on 1 into Guide of Souls Ocelot Pride on 2. There's not many decks in the format that can keep up with that, but you've gone 1, 2, 3, and you've done it a turn early. That's the beauty of Guide of Souls on 1, is it gave you 3 energy off the Amped Raptor ready, where if you hit something, say you hit like a Fatal Push there, and you're not casting it, you've still got 3 energy to jump the Guide of Souls. So there's no bad result there.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that you don't have to cast the card, like, really from after Ampter, like, really, like, takes away any negative effects. Like, okay, cool, I've hit my Fatal Push, it just gets exiled, 1 less Fatal Push. But yeah, a great card. Like, incredible that it got through an uncommon, to be honest. But and especially with the shells that they had to support it.
Better it being uncommon that's £1 to £2 as opposed to a mythic that's 30.
Correct. Shout out Ocelot Pride for that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was go with the team. There was just clear view ahead of me. Jack was out of it, and just seeing. I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of, when I said Ocelot Pride, of course you have. Yeah, like, it was something along the lines of that. And then just assuming that it was going to get counterspelled here, because surely I wasn't getting an Ocelot Pride, but you know, at some point there's going to be more threats. So at this point, it's just just 2 1/1s okay, and Jack lets it through.
Yeah, so looking at Jack's hand, it's Drown in the Lock, Psychic Frog, Murktide Regent, considering a couple of lands, is what I think I can see. So not really any great options here. A Marionette Apprentice as a follow-up needs to be interacted with, really, because at this point, there's no good draw for Jack. He's already at 10. A Toxic Deluge means you just sack your entire board to Warren Soultrader.
Yep.
There's not really any position where this goes well for Jack.
Yeah, so I sacked the Guide of Souls here to get a trigger, make a treasure, and then bring it back.
Yeah, I think this is one of the situations where Jack, as you said, this was your first time playing it. Jack being very, very patient with his Drown in the Lock.
Yeah, because I was going to go off there.
Yeah, not countering the Guide of Souls when he was able to. There was only 1 card in your graveyard when the Marionette Apprentice was cast, so I'm not able to counter that one, but the Ajani is the follow-up. That would have been a huge problem, but you needed to sacrifice the creature to get the treasure, which allowed Jack to then Drown in the Locket. So still not looking great for Jack, but that is an okay exchange for him as far as these things can go recently.
Yeah, for sure. And I think at this point it was like, you've just got it, Dave. I had the second Warren Soultrader to follow up.
Yeah, I think it was Deluge or bust there, really. But you Deluge for 2? Because Warren Soultrader's a 3/3.
Yeah.
You can't Deluge for 3 because then you're dead to the Warren Soultrader sacking the entire board.
Yeah, correct. So just
there was no outs there.
Just a spiral of a deck. I very much enjoy playing it. First modern video, first win. See how that goes through the season. I doubt we'll keep that one up. But we're going to have more action for you from all of our games that we play in Firestorm Games. Standard, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy and Pauper coming into this new season as well. As we mentioned, join us if you can on the 17th of August for our own RCQ. We'll link in the description where all the prizes are and how to speak to us in our Discord that we run at Firestorm. All the details there. Any final words about this current 2 weeks? Just enjoy yourself, have fun, and don't buy too many cards, right?
Yeah, basically it's try and get through the next couple of weeks, try and play some things, learn your own play patterns, decide what cards you want to be playing when Nadu eventually goes, try and find places to start. For example, I'm looking at 6. That's where I'm focusing my time.
Spicy. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.